آله وصحبه ومن والاه من كل عمل صالح. This is the night of Jumu'ah. It's a blessed night. There's a lot of barakah in this night. The sunnah is to increase your salah upon the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام and all good deeds. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن عمرو ibn عبسة السلمي رضي الله عنه قال. The hadith tonight in collection of Imam Muslim and it's narrated to us by Amr ibn Absah. And the theme of da'wah, the art of da'wah, or the significance of outreach and da'wah, which is what the theme of this month is for us, inshallah, this masjid, to encourage people to perform da'wah, inshallah, in the different forms of it. And this is a really beautiful, I love this story. It's a hadith, but it's mostly a story that Amr ibn Absah tells us. Amr ibn Absah is not a sahabi that is really well known. He's not someone who has a lot of, he doesn't have a huge biography in Islamic law. So if you were to open any of the books that talk about the different Sahaba, he really only has this story in any of the given books that talk about his background. And he basically summarizes his story for us within this hadith. And the reason that I'm narrating it within this theme, the theme of da'wah, is because we get a glimpse of how the Prophet ﷺ worded things and how he kind of performed this art. So يقول عمرو قال كنت وأنا في الجاهلية أرى الناس على ضلالة وأرى عبادتهم للأوثان ليست بشيء. Back in Jahiliyyah, I used to see people to be misguided. And I used to see the act of them worshipping idols of different sorts to be something that is worthless, it's wrong. This is in Jahiliyyah. This is how I used to think. I used to look at people and the way they were living and I don't like this. I don't like this. فسمعت بخبر رجل يخبر أخبارا بمكة فركبت راحلتي وقدمت عليه. And then I heard in my life of a man in Mecca who was telling different stories. يخبر أخبارا. That's how he words it. The man who's telling saying something different. I heard of a man who was saying something very different to what the status quo is. Not everyone has the courage to do that. Like a lot of times you won't like something, but it's too much of a headache to talk about it, so you just kind of let it go. The Prophet ﷺ to the Arab was someone who had the courage to say something about this stuff. So as a prophet, he was saying it, and he heard about him, so he said, I got on my horse and I came to Mecca. فإذا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستخفيا جرءاء عليه قومه. And I came in front of the Prophet ﷺ in a position of where he's keeping himself unseen. He wasn't hiding, but he was keeping it selective. Like he was not going public about it. He wasn't making it obvious. He was keeping a low profile, alayhi salatu wasalam. His people, جرءاء عليه, meaning they were very aggressive towards him, alayhi salatu wasalam. فتلطفت حتى قدمت عليه بمكة. So I was very quiet about things. I stayed, in Surah Al-Kahf, وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ وَلَا يُشْعَرَنَّ بِكُمْ أَحَدًا. Talattuf is to be precise and accurate, and don't come and make a lot of noise about something and just be quiet. So I stayed quite quiet about it, and I came to him, alayhi salatu in a position, in a time where I could speak to him and no one was seeing. فَقلت مَا أَنْتَ. I said, what are you? فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم نبي. I'm a prophet. فقلت وما نبي. I said, what is prophet? What is this word? فقال أرسلني الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me. فقلت بأي شيء أرسلك. What did he send you with? فقال, and here's the point of the hadith. The hadith is beautiful and for many reasons, but this is the point I'm narrating. فقال بصلة الأرحام وكسر الأوثان وأن يوحد الله لا يعبد ولا يشرك معه شيء. He said three things, alayhi salatu wasalam. The first thing he said, بصلة الأرحام, to strengthen kins of family. I was sent. This is the first thing he said. This is the hadith in Muslim. This is the wording. I'm not just saying it because I have a point or an agenda. This is what exists in the collection of Imam Muslim. The first thing he said, بصلة الأرحام, was sent to teach and remind people the importance of the relationships of kin, of strengthening your families, of keeping families alive, of keeping the relationships you have with your parents and your siblings and your cousins and your uncles and your grandparents and your children and your grandchildren to keep that alive, not to kill off family and not to do qata' rahim and ruin the relations of family. وَكَسْرِ الْأَوْثَان, and to get rid of any form of idols. You see, sanam is the rock or wooden idol that people worship. Wathan is anything that you revere more than God or equal to God. Right? So it's different. Sanam is something that you actually put in worship. Right? Wathan is anything that you revere equal to God or more than God. It means anything that is sacred to you, equal to the sanctity of the word of God himself. And that is something that we still have today. We still have people who revere certain people or certain leaders or maybe certain, as they do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ came to get rid of that, none of that. No one was worthy of that reverence for you. No one is worthy of that degree of magnification and respect aside from Allah. And then to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oneness, the monotheism. When you wahad Allah, la yushraka bihi shay'a. For Allah to be worshipped and accepted as one with no associate. فقلت ومن معك على هذا? And who is with you regarding all this? فقال وأشار بأصبعه عليه الصلاة والسلام حر وعبد. He said, a free man and a slave. And he pointed at قال فكان ممن آمن معه يومئذ أبو بكر وبلال. Now Abu Bakr and Bilal at that point were Muslim, and they were both standing and chatting together. And he pointed عليه الصلاة والسلام and said حر وعبد, meaning it's equal to me. It doesn't matter. There's no system of nobility within this. Meaning it's free men and slaves, all the same within this. فقلت فإني على هذا متبعك. Based on what you have told me, I am going to follow you. And he accepted Islam. Now, before I conclude the hadith, what I find is that the Prophet ﷺ, if you were to ask him, what did Allah send you with? He has a variety of things to choose from. He chose 3 specific topics. Why did he choose these 3 out of the maybe 1,000 choices he has? There's all these things he could have chosen, alayhi salatu wasalam, of what did Allah send you to teach? Well, there's a lot of things. He sent me with honesty, he sent me with love, he sent me with humility, he sent me with striving, with taqwa, with there's a lot. He chose 3 things. Salat al-arham, kasr al-Awthan, and tawheedullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the Prophet ﷺ was reading the person in front of him. See, this is the art of da'wah, is knowing what it is that the person, everyone has a key. Everyone has something that they're looking for in life. So they have a key. There's a key that will open their hearts and their ears to hear and see and absorb what's being said to them. If you don't know what it is, you can spend the rest of your life talking to them, but they're not listening because you haven't figured out what the key is. The art of da'wah is learning what is it that this person is looking for. See, not everyone has the same needs in their lives at different times. Not everyone needs a philosophical breakdown of why God is God and why you need to worship God. Sometimes they're looking for something different. Sometimes they are looking for reward, or they're asking about punishment, or they're wondering about love, or they're looking for some aspect of spirituality that's missing in their lives, or they're looking for us changing the status quo because they're oppressed. Everyone is looking for something different. Islam has it all. You just have to figure out what is that person craving right now, so they can hear about it. Not because we're not manipulating people. There's a lot in Islam. We just present them with what they want to listen to. Present them the aspect of Islam that is meaningful to them. This gentleman always knew that he said at the beginning of the hadith, I always knew this asnam were wrong. He needed someone to tell him that. So he used twice, alayhi salam, I'm here to kasr al-Awthan, get rid of all of those worshipped idols, and to do monotheism. He gave both of them to him. And that's what he was looking for all his life. So he had that. And then he pointed out to him, hurrun wa abd. This was a person who cared about social justice. So when he saw that the Prophet ﷺ was not being followed only by the nobles or only by the poor, but both, and they were both standing in a status, a posture of equality. It meant something to him. So he immediately accepted it. And this is what da'wah is having that wisdom of knowing what is it. The Prophet ﷺ did not offer him, if you listen to the conversation, a lot of knowledge. He didn't sit there and explain for hours. It was just a couple of words. The Prophet ﷺ was almost short with him. Like when you read the hadith, was he being short? Every answer is just a couple of words. No, he knew ﷺ what he was doing. And the man accepted right then and there. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم إنك لا تستطيع هذا في يومك هذا ألا ترى حالي وحال الناس عد إلى أهلك فإذا سمعت أني ظهرت فأتني. He told him, but you can't do this publicly. You can't follow me publicly. Do you not see the situation that I'm in with people? If you do this publicly, you're going to get killed. So I need you to go back to your family, go back to your people, perform da'wah there. When you hear that I have achieved some degree of strength, come to me. فقعدت إلى أهلي. So I went back to my people. The Prophet ﷺ, not only is he performing da'wah, he is keeping in his head, in his mind, in his heart, the best interest of this person. What's the best interest of this new person? He's not there. He's not going to abuse him immediately and use him. I need as many people as possible. I need as many people as possible to spread this. Even if they die, fine. No. In his mind, your best interest is my best interest. I need to protect you. Go to your people. I can't protect you. You need to go back. Alayhi salatu wasalam. He saw himself as the guardian, of the shepherd of all those who accepted Islam. And when he felt he could not protect one of his followers, he sent them to a place where they could be safe, which is why he sent people to Habasha, because he couldn't protect them anymore, alayhi salatu wasalam. You understand what this means? For when you perform da'wah, you're their guardian. You are there to protect them, not to abuse them, not to put them in a position where they're going to harm themselves, force them to do something that's going to cause them to lose their families and lose their jobs and lose their livelihood and lose their respect. No. So be careful when you do this. This is his wisdom, alayhi salatu wasalam. فقعدت إلى أهلي وبقيت أنتظر الأخبار أسمعها. I kept on listening, looking for news. حتى علمت أنه دخل المدينة. Until I knew that he entered in Medina. فقدم علي نفر من أهل يثرب من المدينة. A group of people came and visited my area from Yathrib, from the Medina. فقلت ما فعل هذا الرجل عندكم? What did the man who came to you, what did he do? فقالوا الناس إليه سراع وقد أراد قومه قتله فلم يستطيعوا ذلك. People are coming to him from everywhere to accept Islam. And his people, Quraysh, tried to kill him a couple of times and they failed. قلوا فقدمت عليه الصلاة والسلام ومعي أهلي فأتيت. There's a piece of the story that I have to tell you. It's not in the collection about Muslim, but forgive me, and this may take longer than, but I have to tell you this part of the story. You see, when he left the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, this piece is in Nasb al-Raya al-Zaylahi. So this is a little bit outside of the, in this piece of that, where when the Prophet alayhi salam told him, go back to your family, Amr ibn Abs in his mind is like, I don't know if I'll ever see him again. Because they're both middle-aged and you're living in them. يقول فخفت ألا أراه. I was scared. It's not in a collection about Muslims, it's another collection. I was scared I wouldn't see him again. يقول فعدت القهقرة. So I walked backwards. حتى أملأ عينيه من وجهه عليه. So I could fill my eyes by looking at his face عليه الصلاة والسلام. Walking backwards to make sure I could look at him for as long as possible. فوقف مكانه. The Prophet understood. So he stood where he was. يبتسم لي عليه الصلاة والسلام. Stood there smiling to me. He understood what I wanted. So he stood there and just smiled at me until I couldn't see him anymore عليه الصلاة والسلام. Because he wanted to see him عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said, when I came back years later, فدخلت عليه مع أهلي. I entered with my family. فقلت يا رسول الله أتعرفني؟ يا رسول الله, do you know me? فقال نعم أنت الذي لقيتني بمكة. You're the one who I met in Mecca that night. عمرو بن عبسة. فقلت بلى. Yes, it is me. صلى الله عليه وسلم. So he remembered him. Another aspect of da'wah is the value of people. It's the value of the person, knowing the person, making sure the person feels seen, feels heard, feels acknowledged. That they're not just another part of the flock, not just another person who entered and left. No one wants to feel that way. No one wants to feel that they're just another part in the clan, another person in the crowd. They want to feel that they're individuals, that they matter. The Prophet ﷺ would remember people. He would remember their names. He would take time to talk to them ﷺ, because he valued them that way. He wasn't putting on a show ﷺ. This is how he was. This is how he was as a person. He valued individuals. He valued them as human beings. And because he did that, there was this nur in his face, والسلام, that people just couldn't get enough of. They wanted to look at it. There was something about him, that they were attracted to, and they couldn't. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I love this hadith because it in my opinion, it encompasses all that he was. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن عمرو بن عبسة السلمي رضي الله عنه قال: كنت في الجاهلية أظن أن الناس على ضلالة وكنت أرى عبادتهم الأوثان ليست بشيء، فسمعت برجل يخبر بمكة أخبارا فركبت راحلتي وقدمت عليه فإذا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستخفيا جرءاء عليه قومه فتلطفت حتى قدمت عليه فقلت: ما أنت؟ فقال: نبي. فقلت: ما نبي؟ فقال: أرسلني الله. فقلت: وبما أي شيء أرسلك؟ فقال: بصلة الأرحام وكسر الأوثان وأن يوحد الله لا يشرك به شيء. فقلت: ومن اتبعك على هذا؟ فأشار بإصبعه وقال: حر وعبد، وكان قد آمن معه يومئذ أبو بكر وبلال. فقلت: إني على هذا متبعك. فقال: إنك لا تستطيع هذا في يومك هذا. ألا ترى حالي وحال الناس؟ فعد إلى أهلك، فإذا سمعت أني ظهرت فأتني. فعدت إلى أهلي فبقيت أسمع أخباره حتى قدم علي وفد من أهل يثرب من المدينة. فقلت: ما فعل الرجل الذي أتاكم؟ فقالوا: الناس إليه سراع وقد أراد قومه قتله فلم يستطيعوا ذلك. فقدمت عليه وأهلي، فلما وصلت إليه صلى الله عليه وسلم قلت: يا رسول الله أتعرفني؟ فقال: نعم أنت الذي لقيتني بمكة عمرو بن عبسة. فقلت بلى يا رسول الله. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على حبيبنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن شاء الله tomorrow صلاة الجمعة is 3:15 sharp. See you then بإذن الله تعالى. Have a nice night.